So hello everyone and welcome to this edition of Conversations with Nurses. My name is Dale Barcy and I'm the host of this little chat. My guest today is Dr. William Irish O'Brien. And Dr. O'Brien is a registered nurse who hails from the island of Montserrat. Welcome, Dr. O'Brien.
Thank you. Thank you for
How are you?
having me. It's so nice to be here.
I'm so thankful that you agreed to speak with me today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay. So how are you?
I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's just get right into this little chat. My first thing that I really want to know is what made you become a nurse? How did you become a nurse? Did you always want to be?
No, actually, I did not always wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
That was my passion when I was growing up. I wanted I would be walking home from school and I would be teaching the shrubs and, that kind of thing. I always wanted to be um, teacher. And of course, as I grew up, I also found or discovered that I had this thing for the arts, for singing and acting and so on.
Uh-huh.
Of course, that also became a passion of mine. But nursing was never it. There's a friend of mine who lived in Salem, and I was visiting her family one day, and they said, "Do you know they're looking for nurses, and why don't you apply?" And I was like, "You don't have male nurses, you know, you don't have male nurses." And they said, "Well, try." So I did. I applied, and I became. I got accepted, and the rest, I guess, is history, as they say.
It's history. It's history. Yeah. And so I realized that the path to nursing in Montserrat was not the same for you as it would have been for others, because as it is, you were the first male registered nurse to be trained in Montserrat.
That's
So my
right.
first question is, A, what were the requirements for you to enter nursing school and how did that go?
The requirements, you had to have O levels, and you had to be a good moral character, upstanding member of society, um, a person with a good reputation and all that. And I guess I had those requirements, so I was accepted. Yes.
So for those who are looking and are not sure what O levels are, because there are some people who are looking at this who didn't grow up under the British system. So
Right.
would you tell us, please?
In the Caribbean, again, back in my day, and that's my lived experience. You would go to school, your elementary school, and then you'll either take your school leaving certificate, or you'll go to the secondary school. And those people who didn't go to the secondary school, they would go to extramural classes, which is, like night classes.
Mm-hmm.
And they would go through the secondary experience that way. And then they would sit examination at that time that was written, scheduled by uh, the British system. And these O levels would give you added advantage to get into the university or wherever you want to go.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar to the US Regents exam for high
Exactly.
schools.
Exactly.
Okay. And so for that, you needed those qualifications and recommendations from
Yes.
upstanding members of the
Yes.
community, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So then once you entered nursing school, how was that for you? Because I believe that at some point there was an issue with or some questions about the curriculum.
Well, at that time, I was the first registered nurse that was going through this process, going through the whole general nurse. We call him general nurse at that time, but it's essentially an RN.
Yes.
And so they had to make adjustments for in the curriculum for me. And one of the adjustments they made was the obstetric part of it, the gynecology and obstetric part of it. Because a guy had never gone through that before. So instead of going through that particular pathway, I was shunted towards psychiatry.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I did get my obstetrics and gynae experience because I worked on the maternity ward, and I,
Yeah.
I got my experience that way. But formally, I was shunted towards psychiatry.
So as a male in a predominantly female industry, in a predominantly the thinking actually in that time, Montserrat is very patriarchal. So I know that not just within the hospital setting or the nursing setting, you're the sole male, but what, you know, outside of that and people looking in. How did you how, first of all, how hard or how easy was it to fit in? And who offered you support? What kind of people offered you support? What kind of support did you get?
That's a very good question. I was quite fortunate. The people of Montserrat, my people, they were resoundingly supportive. I didn't have an issue. There were people in nursing within the nursing department within the hospital who took me under their wings. So Jane Ivy Morgan, she's now deceased.
Yeah.
She was my main mentor. Then you had Elizabeth Lindsay, you had Ina, you had Elsa, you had so many others who took me under their wings and mentored me, Nurse Francis. And I could go on and on and on.
Yes.
We didn't know at that time that we were literally, blazing a new trail. It was just, oh, this happened to be a guy who's going to be a nurse.
Exactly.
And so it was phenomenal. And so it doesn't matter where I've gone. I've traveled a lot. I'm a world traveler, but I always talk about my country. I haven't lived there for nearly 40 years, but I got my foundation from Montserrat, from the experiences I had there, how they mentored me, how they took me under their wing. I remember I used to go to be involved in the creative arts, writing and so on. And
Yes.
Dr. Howard Fergus was also one of my mentors. And I remember he said to me one time, he said, "You have promise." And I was a teenager then, he said, "You have promise." And that has always stuck with me. So I am fortunate. I am fortunate. And even now here in the States, some people, remember me, and whenever I go to a martial function,
Yes.
people always give me that respect, doctor. Especially now that I have the doctor before my name, you'll give me that respect, and for that I'll be eternally appreciated.
So transitioning from a society like Montserrat, which is small, close-knit, everyone knows everyone, to society like the United States. How did that work for you in terms of nursing? When you came here, did you find that you fit in the same way within the society? Was it easy to transition? How did that work?
But when I came here, I'm coming from this island, Montserrat, where I was a civil servant, a respected person in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And you got here and you realize it ain't nothing.
Nobody,
Nobody
cares.
Nobody cares. You're just a number. And you learn pretty quick that whatever you had back then, this was a totally different reality.
Yes.
And I guess I took hold of that pretty quickly, and decided to forge my path. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, I love the arts, and so I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be an actor, and so I focused on my nursing. Adjusted in the society, focused on my nursing because I wanted to secure myself. Because back in the islands, they always tell you, make sure you get your education. Make sure
Indeed.
you get your education. Get your education. So I focused on that, and it happened to be that my pathway that I took by default.
I see. I see. And so it has led you to, and so as you mentioned earlier, you're now Dr. O'Brien.
Yes.
So talk to me about the path that takes you from, the first male registered nurse for whom a curriculum has to be adjusted to now being Dr. O'Brien.
I was living in California. I was living, of course, here on the East Coast, and I moved to California.
Uh-huh.
I fell in love with it, and I stayed there and started to work there. And I was working as a director of nursing there.
Yeah.
Um, the opportunity came for another advancement, and I said to myself, I need to go back to school. I just can't be the director of nursing. Because it's one thing to have the title, and the other things are not in place.
Yes.
So I was wondering what to do, and I remember this lady said to me, "You don't ever have to prove that you're a nurse again ever in this life.
Indeed.
So you don't have to go and do any degrees in nursing." And I looked at her, I never thought of that before, because most of us who are nurses, we would go just transition into anything that's healthcare. But I started University of Phoenix in San Diego, and I wanted to use my O levels and my what you call the documents, official papers from my education in Montserrat. I wanted to use them here, and of course they didn't accept them, and it was just too much hassle.
Yes.
So I went and decided, you know what, I'll start over. So I was working, and then I full time, and then I went to school full time, and I did bachelor's in business administration.
Okay.
And then I went after that, and I did a master's in business administration.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the anal person that I am, I decided, you know what, I might as well just do it. And,
go for broke.
Go for broke. I did my doctoral degree. At that time, I had to move back to the East Coast, and so that was very challenging because you were doing it on campus and off campus. Okay. And so you had to do your residency. I had to do my residency in Virginia. So it wasn't an easy path.
It was no cakewalk.
It was not a cakewalk. It was not a cakewalk.
Okay.
I would never do it again, though. if I had to live this life again, no.
That's not it. So how did you decide on your current specialty, Dr. O'Brien?
I was working through an agency, and most of the nursing hours that I got were in nursing homes. Okay. And when you work through an agency, you go where they send you. I've had good experiences and bad experiences in that particular arena, but you go where they send you. And I found that I was getting pretty good in this particular specialty. So I just followed it, and before you know it, I was a nursing supervisor.
You were up on the ladder.
That was a staff coordinator, and then I was this, and I was that, and then yeah.
And then here you are. And so what do you like the most about it, though?
That's a very good question there. When I started nursing, I had the passion for it. Outside of the art, I developed a passion for it. This was something I loved, and it sounds cliche, but I love, helping people. I love, But after a while, you lose that, I guess. After a while, and something else happens. It's not that you go on autopilot, but you begin to realize that this is the path you've chosen, and you're going to give it your all, and the passion becomes secondary. Do I still love it? Yes. Will I continue to do it until I retire? Probably. But I believe there's so many pathways to pursue. So
there are many. There are many. As a nurse myself, one of the things that I tend to always ask nurses is, how do you cope with the stress? How do you cope with the emotion? I tend to be a very emotional nurse. You know, I've had to learn to compartmentalize and withdraw from getting involved in people's emotions. And I'm interested to know how other people, so how do you cope with the emotion?
Well, that's exactly what I do. I'm very good at packaging stuff and putting them in their place so they don't obstruct the vision.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I go to the gym, I work out, I walk every morning for at least 2 miles. So I ride my bike. I get up at 5:30, and by 5:45. I'm walking doing the 2 miles. It's dark. I have my torchlight, and I come back and I get ready for work and so on. So I've learned to just not let things cloud the vision. It's not always easy. It's not always easy because sometimes things overwhelm you. I also travel a lot. That's one of my things.
Yes.
And whenever I start getting antsy, okay, it's time to go.
Head
And
somewhere.
time to head somewhere.
Yeah.
And that is what I've done over the years. And so I've been fortunate enough to see quite a lot of the world. And I'm now raising my son in the same way. Sometimes we just gotta go.
Yes, it's necessary. It's necessary.
Necessary.
It's
Necessary.
necessary. One of the things that I think, as nurses find very hard to learn is self-care.
Yes.
We tend to put self-care way back or on the back burner. And so, that's one of the things I really like to promote to nurses. You really do have to consciously take care of yourself.
I remember a consultant years ago um, said to me, as the director of nursing, you should take a break every 3 months.
Yes.
And she made sense. Sometimes it's not practical, but she made absolute sense.
It is,
Absolute
yes.
sense.
Yes, because as a director of nursing, you are working all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's right.
And so 3 months is a long time to go without a break.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So what advice would you give, though, to someone who wants to be a nurse, who's considering nursing as a profession?
I would encourage it. In my time as a young nurse, there was only a few disciplines: peds,
Yeah.
obstetrics, surgery, med surg. That was it. That was your worldview. But now there's so many areas in nursing that one can get into. You don't have to be saddled with bedside nursing if that's not for you. No. I do, however, and I've had the opportunity to counsel a lot of nurses, a lot of young nurses. I say you have to give yourself at least 2 years. When you get out of school, you have to give yourself at least 2.5 years, 2 years and a half in an acute environment, because you be able to tie the theory and the practical so you understand what nursing is about. You can't just leave from the classroom and then decide this is what you're going to do, because you'll only be a person who has the academic, academic.
Yeah.
So it's important to be well-rounded. But after that, man, the world is.
You can fly.
You can fly.
Yes.
And it's a good thing for guys as well. I would encourage them, just do it. You'll be surprised at the fulfillment, the emotional rewards that you will get.
Yes. And I think that we are finally getting to the place where we have stopped referring to men in nursing as male nurses. We just call them nurses. That is something that used to always jar with me.
Yeah.
It's a nurse.
Just a nurse.
It's a nurse.
But it's a wonderful profession, and it's a worthwhile profession if you have the aptitude for it. If you don't have the gift, if you're using this just as a means of trying to accomplish something, I could tell you it's not going to work.
I know, it will kill you.
It will kill you.
It will kill you.
Yes.
So if you weren't a nurse though, what would you be?
Oh, definitely on stage. I'll
Yeah.
definitely be an actor, a singer.
Yeah.
You know, I still have some life left in me. You never know. I'm that. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that I remember one of the things that sparked my interest actually in doing this series of conversations is way back when I worked with staff in staff development. And at one point, I thought we were becoming kind of stale and stagnant. And so I did this thing that said, just once a year, I had this people come and we had this program that said, if you're not a nurse, what are you when you're not a nurse? And so people showed up. There were seamstresses, there were hairdressers, there are actors, as you say, and mothers and fathers and writers and all kinds of things. And so multi-talented people as you are, And so I think we need to see ourselves and we need to allow people to see us as multifaceted as we are.
That's so important because a lot of times people tend to pigeonhole you.
Yes.
Or if you allow it.
Yes.
I myself personally, I've been so fortunate. 2 years ago, I collaborated on a book that was spearheaded by Dr. Renali Williams, also of Montserrat, and that became a bestseller on Amazon, and that was a great experience. I'm currently working on two projects. One is about inspirational stories for men, and the other one is just about my lived experiences. But in addition to that, I have so many other things that I want to do. I want to continue. I want to start again. I used to do a little bit of acting on the side. I used to do a little bit of modeling and so on. So there's a lot of stuff, and when you do what you want to do in terms of exploring all your interests, it just makes you a more whole person, I guess.
I know, I get it. This was one of the my big motivations for I use the word very loosely for retiring because I don't consider myself retired. But I retired from full-time nursing.
That's right.
And one of the reasons was to allow myself the freedom and the time and whatever to do the other things that are of interest to me and things that I would like to do.
You know what? That is such an incredible view or perspective. I was telling some friends of mine recently, I think I have a few more big moves in me. I think I have a few more big moves in me. Things that I want to do, before I get much older. Because I have this thing about you need to experience life now. You can't put it on hold until you're retired because
I know
what your life is gonna be like when you're retired. And I don't want to be on a cruise ship and being pushed in a wheelchair. I don't want to be in Thailand, in Thailand, just be a tourist in a wheelchair. I want to experience as much as I can. And perchance I get older and I become incapacitated. I hope I will not be that. At least I would have the memories.
You will have those memories. Yes, you will have those memories.
Yes.
All right. So, Dr. O'Brien, thank you. Thank you so very, very much for speaking with me today. I appreciate your time and your insights, and I really hope we can talk again.
I would love to. And thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed this conversation, and I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing so that we nurses can, so people can see something different. And
yes,
and they were not just people who wore a white uniform back in the day, a white cap.
Yes, indeed, or scrubs now. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and blessings.
Thank you so much. Thank you.